And I know I said last time that I was not going to make another episode of Satanic Views, but the unpredictable turn of events that happened since then have obviously made me change my mind. For one thing, my Purple Lin Kuei series here on YouTube is doing pretty well, and it makes me want to make more videos. The problem is, Purple Lin Kuei is a very difficult webcast to produce. Satanic Views, however, is easy. Except for when I'm working with my 25-year-old rhinoceros iguana who's not following a script. If you've seen the older episodes of Satanic Views, you saw him 20 years ago. He was in a lot of the episodes. He's still alive, and he's still well. He's a spoiled brat, and I take good care of him. So here we go with episode 33 of Satanic Views, starting with the section Ecomaniacs. Here we go with another of my travelogues. This is a very unusual edition of Ecomaniacs. Traditionally, this series of travels always revolved around exotic animal encounters and environmental topics. That's why it's called Ecomaniacs. But this one is a change of pace, a totally urban vacation. This time we're flying to Pennsylvania. So from the plane window I watch the sunshine of the southwest change into a constant stretch of white clouds. As is often the case with vacations, getting to the location is a pain in the ass. Not only did we wait a really long time for the dollar car rental shuttle to finally come pick us up, but the idiots at some flaky bed and breakfast place called So Sweet in Philadelphia suddenly canceled our hotel room at the last minute. They could have told us a day ago or a week ago, but So Sweet inexplicably canceled it mere minutes before we were scheduled to arrive at the damn place. I have several friends out here near the East Coast. People such as Alex Strang, who I've not seen in decades. I've probably not seen Alex since about 1999. I'm also seeing Hugh Gallagher for the first time in about 30 years. Back in the 20th century, Hugh Gallagher was my publisher. I was basically a film critic, and if you consider magazines to be books, then I guess both Hugh and I were successful paid authors. Our mutual journalistic endeavors were available in stores all over the world until the internet kicked our analog asses in the 21st century. In addition to our hot-selling print media, we were also both filmmakers. And for a time, Hugh Gallagher's Draculina Publishing was distributing my first horror comedy, Age of Demons. So it was our mutual interest in slimy, low-budget video making that brought us both together in Philadelphia in May of 2026 from our respective states. But before I could join Hugh Gallagher, Charles Pinion, and Bruce Longo of Bloodsick Underground Cinema, there was something on my bucket list. Growing up, when I heard the name Pennsylvania, what came to mind were George Romero's first two zombie movies. The long drive from Philadelphia to Evans City Cemetery was mostly trees. Okay, we're making the long drive from one side of Pennsylvania to the other. It never occurred to me that Pittsburgh and Philadelphia are very far apart, hours apart. But we're driving through a lot of nice countryside, a lot of trees. It's very green, but I just thought, oh, it's Pennsylvania, right? Aren't all those places like right next door to each other? As is often the case with cemeteries, it looked exactly the same as it did when they made Night of the Living Dead in 1968. My heart almost started to beat fast as we approached these holy grounds. Night of the Living Dead turned me into a horror fan when I first saw it at around 7 years old. I became a horror fan all through the 1970s.
Hey, I mean, praying's for church, huh? Come on.
This is the most recognizable grave in the whole movie. Here I am standing where Barbara stood as they were making horror history and did not know it. The first major flesh-eating zombie attack ever filmed. And it's also interesting to see some of the amusing names on these graves, such as J. Peter Ripper. Does J stand for Jack? And of course, my favorite grave here at this cemetery is the name Rape. I mean, just how do you tell people that you married into the Rape family? However, like I said earlier, my real reason for going to Pennsylvania was because of people associated with bloodsick underground cinema. They showed movies by myself, Hugh Gallagher, and Charles Pinion that night. Charles Pinion's short movie Madball started the evening, followed by my science fiction comedy of Mummies and Martians, and then came the headliner, Hugh Gallagher's kinky, suspenseful horror drama, Gorotica. None of us low-budget filmmakers became millionaires, but things sold really well at the dealer's table, so we must be doing something right. Before we got to the venue Philomoka, we all met for dinner at a nearby restaurant. Plenty of alcohol, food, alcohol, humor, and more alcohol. What's amusing is that most of these people are Pennsylvania residents, so they all knew how to walk to the venue even while intoxicated. Hugh and I are from out of state though, and were the last ones to leave the restaurant. Until my wife activated the GPS, both guests of honor just wandered aimlessly on a seedy sidewalk among homeless beggars and illiterate thugs.
All right, here I am with Hugh Gallagher. We are the guests of honor, and we're totally lost. We don't even know where we're supposed to be, but our movies are screening, and everyone left us here. So we're just hanging out on the corner in this state,
that way.
Pennsylvania.
That way a block, and then that way half a block.
Really?
That's what the GPS thingy says.
Okay.
You thought it was that way?
I'm bailing here. Last time me and Hugh Gallagher met, we did not look like twins. He had a full head of hair. I had a head.
Told Bruce, I thought it was like a skinhead showing.
I know.
Yeah, oi, oi, oi! I had a forehead like a Klingon even way back then.
I've spoken in front of audiences before, so I was confident I could do it while tipsy. I didn't see the stage's stairs and just walked through the audience, accidentally knocking a cell phone out of a seated audience member's hand.
So Damon here is the modern day Anton LaVey. Damon, he had the very last day of submissions for the Bloodsick Underground Film Festival, if you guys went to, he had submitted, and it was so last minute, and I was so excited that he had submitted, because I've been a long-term fan of Damon's. So I sent him an email, and I was like, look, I'd gladly play your film at the festival, but I think it would be way cooler if we could do an event where you came out. And he was like, well, he lives in Arizona. So what we ended up doing is he sent me a whole box of stuff to sell that a lot of you guys probably helped purchase. Those sales helped buy his flight out from Arizona. The fact that this man is flying from Arizona to be here in Philadelphia, to me, I think is really, really special. And
Never been there
thank
before.
you. Yeah. I was and Hugh Gallagher, I've always said is one of the biggest inspirations for my films. Gorotica, especially, it's just this like high energy punk necrophilia film. And it's great. It's fucked up. It's filthy. I love it. And well, if you guys want to, you talk about your own movie.
You want to go first, or should I go first?
Go ahead.
Okay, I come from there were a bunch of kids in elementary school in the early 1970s, and we all were big fans of monster movies and horror movies, like everyone here. And several of us thought we were going to become filmmakers. And one kid made a movie, it was based on The Exorcist. He asked if I wanted to be in it, and I said, yeah, that's just a bed, it's a bedroom, it's a pea soup, what's the point? I was an 8-year-old kid, and I thought this, where are the monsters, where's the action and stuff? So I was never in that movie, and so I started making my own films. And then I discovered foreign language TV, the Japanese superhero shows of the early 1970s. I was 6 years old when Kamen Rider 71 came out. And we got a lot of untranslated Japanese TV shows back in the 70s. And once I saw something like Kamen Rider, which they combined horror, fantasy, drama, comedy, all these other elements. Once I saw that, I honestly could never watch Night Gallery, Kolchak the Night Stalker, or other Dark Shadows ever again. Because I was used to seeing, it's going to start out kind of like horror, it's going to be some monsters, some creatures kind of prowling down the hallway. And then there's going to be some characters that are kind of comical and funny, and then at the end it's going to be this kick-ass fight scene that might last 5 minutes. And once I saw that kind of changed everything for me. And so that's the way I grew up. I was exposed to the Japanese stuff,
and some American horror movies, and a lot of British comedy, and punk rock, and a lot of different things. And that's why I combined all these things. Whenever I write a script, I combine these elements together, and we need John Cleese in between these two movies, so we can say, and now for something completely different. This is, you do standard horror, as I recall. I haven't seen Erotica in years. I liked it, but that was years ago. You gave me the tape.
Yeah.
But mine, yeah, there's a horror element, but there's a comedy element. There's a lot of fighting in it. I'm trying to be funny. No doubt, you're gonna say, "Oh, that was so stupid," because it's really hard to make people laugh. I try as hard as I can. And the other problem is with Mummies and Martians, I have been absent from filmmaking for 20 years.
First movie in 20 years, Ron.
Yeah, I hadn't done it in a while, so I had to relearn a lot of things as far as the digital technology, the CGI, and the green screens, and the chroma key, and it's painful at points. Sometimes it's so obviously a green screen when it shouldn't have been a green screen. But you know, I was trying to relearn some things because I had not made a movie in 20 years. I fought that addiction. It was like being a crack addict, being clean and sober for 20 years and then having a relapse. I started writing scripts again. I fight it. I tell you, I wish my mind was obsessed with the stock market and money, but no, I tell stories. So when you see Mummies and Martians, hopefully you understand that I was inspired by a whole different, a whole collection of different genres, and it's very, very limited budget, made on a laptop. It is feature length, and I feel bad because yours is only an hour. Yours is only 2 minutes. I feel bad that mine's dominating the whole show.
Well, you know what though, Charles and Hugh have been here before, and you're our esteemed first-time guest.
Oh, okay.
So I feel like you can get away with it. Another cool tie that I thought with this was, I had found out that Damon and Hugh had published a magazine together, so there's also sort of a reunion. So Hugh and Charles worked together in 1990. You guys started making magazines together in 93.
Maybe 94.
Called Oriental Cinema,
Yeah.
which you have some over here.
He took me under his wing, the director that publishing. So yeah,
So and you haven't seen each other in
30 years. Last time I saw you,
We look just like.
yeah, you had a full head of hair then. Even way back then, I had a forehead like a Klingon. Some of the big buff shit go up.
And tell us about Erotica, Hugh.
Well, like I said, knowing Damon I did Dracula and Publishing, I saw his fanzine Oriental Cinema, and I thought this was really cool. This would be a neat magazine. So I contacted him, and we just made a deal where he sent me the stuff, I laid it out, and we made a magazine. It did really, really well. It was like my top 3 magazines were Dracula, Oriental Cinema, and She. And I did that until 2006 when the internet destroyed everything.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
But Erotica is nothing like any of this. Erotica is my fight against necromantic. Everyone said that was the greatest movie about necrophilia, which is why would anyone try to make something better on necrophilia? I don't know, but I did. I thought this was more of a story, and it's very strange. I don't know what to tell you. It was made in like 3 or 4 days in Memphis, Tennessee, and it's weird. So I'm just warning you now, it's weird, and there's a lot of weird shit in it, and I don't know what to tell you. But it's held up for forever, so that's great.
So we'll have maybe a brief intermission between the 2 features, and then after Erotica, Charles and I will host a Q&A of Damon and Hugh to talk about the 2 films. And we thought it'd be fun just to do it all together instead of 2 separate Q&As. So please hang out tonight and enjoy the films, guys. Thank you for all 3 of you guys for traveling out here.
Me and this guy, we go way back. Whoa! I don't take anything seriously. And so we showed our movies. Naturally, I only have the rights to the movie I made of Mummies and Martians. I noticed that the younger audience does not get all the jokes, because if you have never heard of Tura Satana, then you will not get the in-joke Tuna Satana. If you're unfamiliar with Bruce Lee, then you won't get the jokes involving the character Bruce Liar. Same thing goes for Andrew Dice Clay. If you're unfamiliar with Andrew Dice Clay, you might not know who Andrew Dice Gay is. In fact, there's a lot of references to old 1950s and 60s movies that younger generations just don't get the jokes for.
The editing is what really shines. I feel like it's absolutely insane. I mean, you've got so many things happening on screen at the same time.
Yeah, you can't follow everything, and that's what makes every scene so difficult to do.
Yeah.
Several people, several.
I mean, you're on screen sometimes 3 times at once.
There's a mask that's usually me. And that's the reason all the characters are masks. So I can double for most of the males, and my wife Jocelyn can double for most of the females. And I would not have an actor drive all the way from Tucson or Phoenix to come and wear a mask.
Sure.
And they wouldn't want to do that. They would want to have their faces seen. And I always make sure you're roughly my height, close enough. And I said, we're going to get all your scenes done in one day because I don't trust anybody. I had so many fucking people flake out on me, and you guys have probably experienced that too.
Oh, yeah.
And so I would decide if it's a newbie, I'm going to get all their scenes done in one day, which might mean starting at 9 a.m., working all day, and I get every conceivable angle, and I get green screen backups because I don't trust anybody. That's one thing I learned long ago. And then like I said, I'm done before the masks.
Now, how often are you filming an actor on a green screen and then you have to go in later to add other actors?
Constantly. 2 or 3 years, yeah.
Wow. So you shot this movie over 2 or 3 years?
Yeah, I started it at the end of 2021, finished it in 2023. And part of the reason it took so long is because it was done on a laptop that it was overkill for the laptop. It was like I had to keep taking it in because of the memory issues. Even with the external drive, it was a pain in the ass. And now, the more recent movie I made, I have a much bigger computer, so it's a little easier. And it's not, the green screen stuff is not as obvious with those down green lines. Trying to get rid of the green lines, and you never know, is there something that the camera thinks that part of my panels are green? All of a sudden I've got holes in my way, so then that means 6 more hours of work cropping and rotoscoping and that's it.
For Damon, I saw, I think just as a voice actor for Mummies and Martians, I saw the name Joe Sherlock pop up.
Yeah, he's worked on several of my movies, but I've never met him in person.
Oh.
Because he's in Oregon, I'm in Arizona. And he was in another movie of mine called Devils, Dragons, and Blood-Sucking Bats. And I just said, it's another fight scene. It was like this female wrestler fighting a bunch of like these the cultist satanic types with these silly looking cartoon horns. So I sent him the robe and the horns to Oregon, and I said, all I need is a white background or maybe a green background, because chroma key I can take out any color. And I told Joe Sherlock just to do this, just come running up, throw a punch, and go, whoa, and then fall over. And that's what he did. And as you mentioned, his voice is in this. That was really easy, just send me the voice. And yeah, we've collaborated on a number of films, and yet have never met in person.
It's funny how that happens.
We met because of some internet, it must have been almost over 20 years ago, some internet filmmakers collaboration thing. I don't remember what it was. This is way before the social networking we know today. It was before MySpace even. So I don't know how we hooked up originally.
Through Dracula?
Maybe, a long time ago. I can barely remember yesterday, so who knows what it was 30 years ago.
So speaking of that, that's one of the movies where I feel like you really like lean hard into like the Satanism aspects, right? In Demon,
The one with the Devil's Dragons, even I'm forgetting it. The Devil's, I wouldn't call it a trilogy, there was 2 of them, unless you include Age of Demons, because there is one continuing character that does link them together. Yeah. But yeah, the Devil's Dragons movies, that was the ones where I really took advantage of the satanic angle.
Yeah.
It was just because people kept saying I look like Anthony.
You also got your Satanic Views TV show.
Oh yeah, I take total advantage of it, totally exploit it. Yeah, I haven't done Satanic Views in a while. Yeah.
Are you still a proud Satanist?
I'm not proud. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I don't usually use the label a lot. I let other people label me that if that's what they want to do. I'm just an atheist with a sense of humor. And that's pretty much what Satanism is all about. Unless you go with the Temple of Set. They believe in the mumbo jumbo. The Church of Satan does not. Satanic Temple does not. At least the people I've met. And I've met all people from all different satanic groups. And it was often totally coincidental. Just for different reasons, different projects, goth clubs, punk gigs, independent films. I crossed paths with a lot of them just over the years.
Yeah, any other questions from you guys? Yes.
The two of you mentioned not having worked on movies in a long time. So while you weren't making them, were you guys still like following like other, low budget stuff, or were you kind of away from that for a while?
The other two, okay. Us two, okay.
I was 15 years.
Okay. I was still aware of independent films. I still saw some. I wasn't making them because YouTube had come along, and I started doing my Satanic Views series. And the only real reason I call it Satanic Views is because nobody would have watched it if I said what it really is. Damon Foster's vacation videos. and so that's, I mean, I had plenty of pentagrams and trappings and things like that. So, and there was, the music was by like a psychobilly band, so it all fell into place. And part of it was just like these travelogues, because I've been all over the world. And I go to like these old temples and things, and I was thinking of how can I put this in the show, so I would do an audio dub saying this is an ancient pagan temple, which is true, because it was very old. And pagan means non-Christian, so theoretically it was correct. And so it looks like I'm exploring this temple. But in reality, I'm thinking, is the shot good? Because these fucking mosquitoes are terrible. That's what I was thinking. There was mosquitoes buzzing around. It was in the tropics. They were like, we leave these huge welts. And once we got enough footage, I say, okay, fine, this will look good on video. Let's go. So little things like that, and animal encounters where it was very dangerous, feeding a 14-foot crocodile in the wilderness, and I had raw chicken. No one to sue if anything went wrong. There was no barricade, and I had this chicken, and he comes up and he eats it. So I was doing a lot of dangerous stuff, handling a lot of scorpions and bats. Had bats attacking, biting me and stuff. A lot of fun, jackass type stuff. And it's called Satanic Views, but it's also political and film commentaries. And I was doing that for 20 years. And then I got bored of doing that too. So that's how I answered the question. And if you forgot what the question was, answer it again, because I forgot.
The two of you had mentioned not working on movies in a long time.
Yeah.
And so I was just wondering, when you weren't doing that, if you had still been following.
I was following for a while. I did directly, I stopped that a long time ago, but I started doing horrible Hughes Coffin reviews, and I would review independent movies dressed up as a fool in the costume.
What a shame it had to end. Opportunities to share my movies with audiences are few and far between. But I had one last activity to do in Pennsylvania. Just as Night of the Living Dead got me into horror movies, the 1978 follow-up Dawn of the Dead got me out of it. The 1970s George Romero classic is one of my favorite movies, the best of the best. My standards were raised, and although I tolerated several zombie movies from Italy on into the 1980s, there was just no going back. I was no longer a horror fan. Nothing could ever live up to Dawn of the Dead 1978.
Yeah, we're going from the film screening up to the zombie location areas. Okay, I am pulling up to Monroeville Mall, and this time my heart really is beating. I am really getting kind of excited because this is May 13th, 2026. This is the birthday of Monroeville Mall. This mall started, May 13th, 1969, I think. Anyway, I do have a friend out here. Like I said, I have friends all over the East Coast and in Pennsylvania. My friend George Goranci, who lives in nearby Pittsburgh, is going to show me around. Me and him have never met in person before, but he has his own web series on the internet as well. But he is going to show me around Monroeville Mall.
Okay, I'm here at a very, very important place in my life. We're going to meet YouTube legend Damon Foster. He's one of the guys, that got me inspired to start a YouTube channel. Are you ready for this, man? Meet the legend.
I'm not sure, but I think I see him pulling up right now. That's probably his car, so I'll park here and get out and meet him in person for the first time.
Damon Foster.
Yep.
We meet at last.
Yeah. We've known each other for a few years now, but only online.
Yeah, I used to watch you way back in the 2000s. You corrupted me, man.
Yes, he probably would have been a successful, rich lawyer now if it wasn't for me. And I'm going to continue to corrupt younger generations because I just can't help it.
Okay, we are here with Damon Foster at the Monroeville Mall, and this is it. He's been waiting to see this all his life since he saw Dawn of the Dead, and we are finally here.
I'm not even a big horror fan anymore, but when I was a 13-year-old kid, this mall was very important to me, even though I've never been in Pennsylvania before. And as we pulled up, my heart almost was starting to beat fast. Almost. I was like kind of excited. Of course, it looks different. Not exactly how I remember it, because a lot happened in all these decades.
Well, you'll
Classic.
recognize the bare bones, the layout when you get in there, but this is a very sacred space around here, and I hope for a miracle that Walmart doesn't, destroy it.
Yeah.
I really hope for that. So you ready to go in and see what this is? See what's in there.
Okay.
Let's go check it out. Let's go. So the sun.
As George was explaining to me just now, this is the scene where the tennis ball goes off the roof and the ball hits like this decaying corpse, the skeleton, and Dawn of the Dead.
Very different now. They had flat doors, but this is where that happened. Most of the scenes, though, with the zombies, they were actually on the other side by the biker entrance, but they were right here slapping on the glass whenever Peter was playing tennis. And the ball rolled over like right around here. Now they got these round doors. Very different looking.
Yeah. Different structures, different companies. It's a sushi bar now. I don't know if it was back then. Okay.
No, it wasn't a sushi bar.
This is how I remember the mall when I saw it as a kid. Fountain, the bridge, the pond, the director of the movie, classic photo. I had this poster on my wall as a kid for many years, and that's the history of Monroeville Mall according to this wall. There's probably a lot more history than just this wall, but a lot of other things happen. Okay, cut. I guess this. Oh my God! Back in the day, not only was there a ice skating rink here, but a lot of malls had them. I never ice skated, but I stood there to watch people fall down, and we were always laughing at them, even though I could not have done better. There's even a store there called the Living Dead Museum, which I was interested in checking out, but like many stores in the shopping mall, it's not often open. They just can't afford to hire clerks anymore, and so it was closed the day I went there. But that's the way it is with shopping malls these days. They were very important in the 20th century, but not so much in the 21st century. Apparently the store Naturalizer was started in 1977, so it was there when they made Dawn of the Dead, although I don't remember it from the movie. It must have been in the background, whereas the scene of the bank is pretty obvious. What other locations did we visit? Even the arcade doesn't exist anymore. It now sells uniforms. And then I, of course, found the exact same spot where the fat zombie banged against the glass, and I reenacted that scene as well. Luckily, I'm not as fat as that zombie. Now, I do believe this is the same motorcycle that appeared in the movie, but they did have several motorcycles. So I'm not sure if this prop on display is the one that we remember for the scene of the bikers. Here we are at a place in the mall where there's a very classic line: when there's no more room in hell, the dead will rent extra property, or something like that. What was that again? Do you remember?
When the taxes are too high in hell, the dead will buy property in Monroeville.
Look good?
Very holy part of the mall. Holy indeed. Okay, you remember when they...
The nun?
No. And it's not the Hare Krishna either. The bikers broke in, one of the zombies got shot, and blood splattered on one of these rocks. And he like falls back into the wall. That blood splattered right there on this rock. Right here. You should kiss this rock, man.
Okay, explain what you just said about the blood splatter.
Okay, well, there's a scene in the movie right when the bikers show up. One of the zombies, okay, gets shot, and his blood splatters right here on this rock, and he falls backwards. Okay, so this is a holy stone, man. Oh yes. Right there, man. Right there, man. Oh, there he goes.
That's the best worshiping an atheist can do.
For this edition of Tales from the Critic, I am critiquing a Japanese TV show that I have absolutely loved most of my life. The 1975 classic Akumaiser 3 has enthralled me since I was a kid in the 1970s. In fact, I've had this toy since about 1976. I bought it in Hayward, California at Mission Market. Mission Market had a Hawaiian theme but imported a few Japanese rarities as well. Zabitan used to jump on a spring. And the spring still works, but the suction cup at the bottom wore out back around 1980. Akumaiser 3 is almost like a Satanic Power Rangers series. Japan's TV shows and manga have often dealt with devil stuff. Going back to the many versions of Akuma-kun to Devilman, of course. But Akumaiser 3 is one of my favorite TV shows. Right up there with Kaiketsu Zubato, Kamen Rider 71, and of course, Denjin Zaboga. During the golden years of Japanese superheroes, they had to use up every conceivable scenario to explain the existence of the fantastical creatures. So, Shotaro Ishinomori's script deals with the downworld. The story makes reference to the Hollow Earth theory and explains that this place is where mankind got the idea of a subterranean level known as Hell. The downworld is a harsh environment, and so the many evil demons need mechanical implants just to survive down there. So they're effectively bionic demons, although they don't actually call them that. Naturally, most of these colorful warriors are up to no good. But we would not have much of a superhero series unless a few of the demons had a change of heart and decided to become good guys. Zabitan leads his fellow justice demon Ibiru, which is how they pronounce evil. Gabura is a bumbling demon added for comic relief. I'm fine with Gabura's dumpy look, but the pathetic character talks too much in the fight scenes. He always repeats himself. This is my only complaint against the masterpiece Akumaiser 3. Getting back to the action, as supplied by the late Sonny Chiba's group, the Japan Action Club, it's one of the few Japanese TV programs that uses fencing, European-style swordplay, instead of the usual empty-handed martial arts seen in other classics of that period. The drama is interesting in that the three cyborg devils are misfits among the humans on the surface of the world. So there are occasional commentaries on prejudice, rejection, and alienation as the Akumaiser 3 trio try to fit in and survive in 1970s Tokyo. If interested in checking out this 38-episode classic, I'm sure you can easily find Akumaiser 3 in subtitled form after an effortless search. But there is an English dubbed version released on DVD in 2020.
Come on, let's fight. Now. I guess you guys already injured them. That's not fair. I never get a chance to fight. I came here to save you. You know?
Great Scott, it's the bathroom.
The dubber painstakingly had the credits translated into English as well. Gee, I wonder who is so absolutely passionate about vintage tokusatsu that he would make the effort to dub Akumaiser 3 episodes into English. I can only guess that it's the same tokusatsu fanatic who painstakingly released all 49 episodes of Ultra 7 dubbed in English many years ago, long time ago. I suspect these products are from a pre-COVID period when many fans flew to conventions to sell bootlegs at dealers' tables. But whether you watch the subtitled online versions or seek out the rare English-dubbed treasures, Atomizer 3 harkens back to a time of heartfelt special effects and physical effects. Many of the FX were done in camera, live on the set. There was no AI crap in 1975, and this was a good 15 or 20 years before CGI showed its ugly head and took the mystery out of life. It's just good old school miniatures and rubber costumes. Atomizer 3 should be mandatory viewing at all Sunday school classes and Christian church functions. I give this outstanding TV show 5 stars out of 5. They just don't make them like that anymore.